Hello and welcome to another episode of Kickstart Connections. I am your host, Lucinda Underwood. Today is a special episode. I'm joined in the studio by Mark and Jamie of BNV Media. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's
welcome.
It going? I feel like people are getting sick of us at this point.
Well, this is the third one, but it's for very, very good reason because we have some exciting news to announce.
We do. Well, we actually talked about this briefly on the last episode we were on. Kickstart Connections and Kickstart Consulting and BNV Media, we're coming together. We're amalgamating and relaunching Kickstart Connections as this overarching brand pop-up podcast at conferences. The podcast itself is going to look a little bit different. We're kind of widening our range from kind of maritime Nova Scotia to across Canada. And we spoke about a potential conference that we were going to be doing like a month. This episode was back in April. We spoke about a conference that we ended up doing in June with the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, a longtime friend of the pod, at the Wonder Woman conference. And so we set up very cool pop-up podcast, nice set. Lucy, you were the host. I think we had about 20
I think it was 21 was the total
21
interviews
different interviews,
that we did. Yeah.
Small businesses, some incredible stuff. A lot of hype around. A lot of people were excited to tell their story. Mm-hmm. We cut those into reels. We videoed it, and we gave one to every single person who was interviewed for them to use for their social media. We recorded those as a podcast, and if you're an avid listener of Kickstart Connections, you know that because it was we broke it down into 2 episodes. Right. I think it was 2 hours in total.
It was, yeah.
So,
by the time we had them all together,
that was very cool. And this is kind of the official launch of the new, and I don't want to say improved. Kickstart Connections was great as is,
but it's definitely new and improved.
It's new and improved.
I will take that.
Yeah, more features for sure. And so we're launching the rebrand of the podcast. You'll see new artwork, new description, new trailer, everything. Instagram, LinkedIn. We're now going to be on YouTube with video. And then the main component, other than that, is the pop-up podcast, the on-the-fly podcast, which we'll get into, and then just general media and content around conferences across the country and hopefully across the world.
That is the plan. We're going global. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about. So we'll dive into more of those.
Yeah, that was a lot all at once.
That
folks.
was a lot of information, but it's good because we're going to dissect it. That's why we're recording this episode. But let's talk a bit about how this came about. I think, let's give the listeners a bit of a history here because this really started with a conversation between the three of us about, the live podcast concept and how we can bring, Kickstart Connections is all about connecting the business community with each other, connecting the wider community with small businesses in the area and all of these kind of things. So we actually started, didn't we, with a conversation around how can we leverage podcasting to improve networking and things like that at events. And that's where it really started and then led to the Chamber of Commerce event, the Wonder Women event we did in June. And, what we found from that, and I'm sure you guys will agree. I mean, we were all very pleasantly surprised on how that went, weren't we? It was a hit. Mm-hmm. It was a hit. And what we really found was it created such excitement and such engagement at this event that we wanted to do more. We wanted to bring our product, our product and our services to conferences, really across the country. Mm-hmm. So from there, we actually have an event next month, actually in a few weeks.
It's coming real quick.
It's coming real quick. Yes, yeah. in Ontario.
Yeah.
In the Toronto area, and we have another one booked for February in Ottawa. So we are taking this national, guys, and we're so happy to have you all along for the ride.
Absolutely. I think it was a perfect time with your company and ours when we merged to create these pop-up pods because we had wanted to kind of take it out of the studio a little bit more. We've got great equipment for all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't really being utilized. There's not a whole lot of people doing it, especially in Atlantic Canada, so we really kind of want to be the staple. Honestly, it's great, and I'm not bluffing when I say it's, you really love your job when things like that happen, especially like Mark was saying with the Wonder Woman conference. seeing all these wonderful women talk about their businesses, it was awesome. And we, like you had said, we didn't know how it was going to start. We didn't know if, people were going to be engaged or how it was going to work. We made a beautiful set in the Nova Center, which is a great venue. I mean, you just put anything there and it looks good.
Yeah.
But we made a beautiful set, which we kind of just made from scratch, the three of us, Victoria as well. So the four of us put our heads together, made something awesome. And as soon as it was set up, we just knew something, people were looking.
It's going to create a buzz, right?
So we're really excited about that. And then the end result, like when we finished everything in post and started, distributing it to socials and giving it to the independent businesses, just the reactions that we saw were just so incredible. First one that comes to mind, the Grateful Baker, her story was so incredible. And you never know which one's going to catch, right? Which story is going to be impactful to someone. And hers, Halifax Mermaid as well. And honestly, they all did really, really well.
They did,
But yeah, they stood out. And like I said, that's really the best part of what we do when you see something like that. And then she got a lot of clients from it, and it was great for her business. I think she got on one of her reels, she got almost 20,000 views.
A lot of views, yeah.
So yeah, just that. But like I had said, it's a perfect time. We wanted to pivot kind of out of the studio and start doing some things. And like you said, we're basically going national and hopefully international with it.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think, thinking back to that event, I mean, we left that day and we were all just so hyped on how it went. And for me, a lot of the reason that I started Kickstart Connections in the first place was because I wanted to facilitate that, the networking, the connections between different business owners, and really help small businesses leverage their brand. And so it's very rewarding when you create something that it gives them that exposure.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it was a great feeling, and we all left and we're like, we want to do this again. We want to do this again. Yeah.
I think, and podcast is all about storytelling. And to your point there, Jamie, the Grateful Baker probably didn't have an opportunity to really tell her story.
Right.
And it resonated with so many different people. And that's really what branding is at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
It's storytelling. And the other aspect, and this is something that we've talked about with a lot of people, and we've been speaking with some other organizations and organizers of conferences, is how do we continue the legacy of a conference? How does a conference live on? Because, and then we talked about this with the Chamber of Commerce as well, is you put on the conference and that's great. And you've got your promotional photos from the year before and all that, but it doesn't really live on through the year. If you attend it, you get to experience it, and you might not even get to experience all of it even when you're attending it. But if you don't attend it, how do you really know what happened?
Right.
And the Pop-Up Podcast is an opportunity for, whether it's at Wonder Woman, where it's the small businesses being featured, or if it's a different conference where it's the special guests or the guest speakers, or even the people attending are featured, that then lives on social media, on the Kickstart Connections podcast, on YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever you want to do with it.
Right.
And it's just so versatile. I mean, we talked about the podcasting, that's our foundation, and the podcast itself is so versatile. It can really be about anything and about anyone. And that's really what we're utilizing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thinking about that and storytelling, that's really what we've drilled down to. I mean, our new tagline, your business, your story. And it's interesting to people when you get to see that human aspect behind a brand or behind a company, it gets that next level of interest. And specifically, just going on to what you were saying about legacy of events, there's two levels of value here, right? There's a value to the conference organizer. So from Wonder Women, Halifax Chamber of Commerce, as you say, there's content there that allows that event to live on. It assists with, future marketing for future events, but also the value that's there for the attendees. They were given a fully professionally edited reel as a snippet from their interview. And we've seen that. We've seen how much traction that has been able to give their business, and that is content that they are able to just keep reusing in different places. So there's definitely a big value to it. I think we were all kind of surprised that, nobody was really doing this here yet,
Right.
or at least not to the level,
Yeah.
to the quality that we're providing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very, very exciting adventure. It really is.
Yeah, we're excited. And when you get a lot of, big names in one room or in a big conference setting, why not capture that? Like, carry that on, because they'll talk, people retain that. And then as soon as they're out the door, they're thinking about the next conference, right? Whereas this, it carries on. And I think we hit it on the head with this. We're gonna do a lot of good things with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like I say, we've got bookings coming up. We're looking into doing more locally next year in 2024. And I mean, with the rebrand, so as you touched on, we have really rebranded the whole thing to really reflect that merger. I mean, Kickstart Connections is now officially part of BNV Media.
Yep.
Okay.
What's up?
What's up? And, with that has come a full rebranding, full marketing rebranding, a new website launched as well, which is
the website, right?
The website, yes, because this is how people are going to be able to reach us and see our work. So our website houses some video, the details of the different levels of services that we offer, and really just gives you kind of an insight into what we can offer and how we can enhance your event. The website is kickstartconnections.com. So please take a look over there. Go check it out.
Oh, we got that URL. Let's go.
We do. We do. And, there'll be full details on there, obviously, of how to contact us. If you are an event organizer and you're thinking about adding something like this, please reach out. We'd be happy to meet with you and, talk about your specific requirements for sure.
Yeah, and kind of speaking about the specific requirements, kind of, and we alluded to this earlier in the episode, breaking down exactly what we can offer. So, like, we've got our stable, we've got the mainstay, which is the pop-up podcast, which is what we did at Wonder Women. What's great about this set is it's fully mobile. All we need is an outlet, really. I mean, we could do with one, but we prefer, 3 or 4. But we bring everything. We've got our professional lighting, cameras, audio, producers, our lovely host, of course. And that's what's so great and versatile. That's why we are confident saying, we can come across to Canada. We can come to you. All you need to provide us is an outlet. We'll deal with the set, and that varies depending on the conference. We can brand it Kickstart Connections, or like the conference that we're going to in September. I think the set will be more built around what the conference is about.
Yep.
So very easy there. And then, like we said, that podcast will be featured on Kickstart Connections. Break those down into reels for the little mini episodes for the people that are being interviewed. And then a little bit further down the line, you could have an on the fly podcast, which I think is really cool because, the pop-up podcast is great. It's a spectacle. People are like, what's going on over here? People are being interviewed. But you can only interview so many people, and it's typically going to be, the featured people at that conference or the small businesses that are showcasing. But the On the Fly podcast really gets to engage the people that are attending the conference. And I think a lot of people attend a conference, and it's a whirlwind, and it's over, and you're like, I don't even know what just took place. Like, that was a lot all at once. And, you get your email afterwards from the conference, oh, please provide some feedback. And most people don't even fill that out, and then it's just, it's a rating system, 5 stars, 4 stars for this and this. Right. But the On the Fly podcast is going around. We have our interviewer, Victoria, going around the conference, and you've probably seen this on social media where people kind of do it on the streets, and they go up to someone, and they're like, oh, how do you feel about, downtown Halifax right now?
Right.
And it's kind of that idea. You're going up to the different guests, the attendees that have paid good money to attend these conferences, and engaging them, asking them, how's your day going? How's the conference? What's been your highlight? And then even, the city that the conference is in, what do you think about Halifax or Toronto or Montreal?
Right, because a lot of people travel to conferences.
A lot of people are traveling across the country, sometimes across the world. So it's great that you can add value to really everyone, the conference itself, the guest speakers, the attendees, and then the city that the conference is, or the host city.
Yeah, and I think also, with the marketing side a little bit too, the layout of the Wonder Woman conference, talked about that one last time. They had speakers in a room, and then we were in the back room, which was, both were massive. So it was perfect for all the vendors. And then, of course, the speakers inside. But, if you're a speaker, you get to talk to the people. But a lot of people in there, they didn't speak, right? And they're there for their business. They're there to market and talk about, and also learn about their industries and things like that. So when you can come out and you have a podcast on the fly, or you actually sit down and record something, these people want to talk. Like they want to talk about what they're doing. And I think that's the biggest benefit of it, because when someone goes to an event, you know, you want to share everyone's experience. And I think it succeeded our expectations to what we were doing, and the responses were unbelievable. So yeah, for anyone that's considering it at the next conference, I think it's the way of the future, pop-up pods.
Well, I think it solves some of the typical issues of events, right? Which, you know, number one is, how do I make sure my attendees are engaged and feel that they get value from the ticket price? Because again, if you're going to a full day event that's catered, the costs are there, right? So, you know, how do you make sure that people are engaged, they enjoy their experience and want to come back? But then B, how do you measure that? And that's where that On the Fly podcast comes in, because you made a very, very good point. You'll receive a survey after the event. How many people really fill it out? How many people really, you don't get much context. It is normally a rating system, you know, rate the facilities 1 to 5 or whatever. So it gives you some kind of idea, some kind of metrics, but not really what you want to hear.
In the moment.
In the moment as well. So, I mean, for event organizers, yes, there's the marketing possibilities that come out of this, which are huge. But also it really allows you to be able to refine your events moving forward, because, you know, you will have all of that feedback to really be able to analyze, okay, what was a hit in this event? What wasn't?
Yeah.
You know, and we've talked before about how a lot of the time at events, it's the unexpected that becomes a hit, right? You never know which way it's going to go.
Right.
So it really allows that kind of measurement, and which then leads on to strategy and planning for future events.
And it brings people to the event, right? If you're a videographer or you're a photographer, you're taking, you know, maybe a sizzle reel, and you kind of see what the event's about a little bit. A lot of conferences don't even do that. They'll just have a photographer. But with what we're doing with the video marketing, it brings you there, right? And then, like we said, with the legacy, it carries on, and you know, it'll always be there. And another big thing of it is websites too. So you can put one of these short form videos on your website, and that's going to tell people exactly what they need to know, right off the bat. They'll see the production from what we did anyway, and then now it's on your website, and you know,
and the value of those kind of videos. And again, because, you know, Kickstart Connections really focuses on the story behind the business. You know, it's not just this is who we are and this is what we do. We want to know why you do what you do, right? That's the kind of conversations that we facilitate here in the studio with our guests as well. So we want to ensure that, you know, the videos that are provided, that story then using on your website, that's what's going to get people engaged. Because, you know, it's the age old saying, you know, people buy from people. Right. If you're selling a product or a service, you want your potential customers to understand who you are and your story, and this really allows that.
Yeah, and people want to be involved in it. It's like the old boys or the old people saying, right?
Yeah.
Once someone does it, then everyone wants to be involved.
Jump it on the bandwagon, right?
Exactly.
And it's really how it differentiates other conferences from other conferences. You know, we spoke to someone recently, whether it's a photography or a videography, and we're not trying to downplay that at all, because we do some videography, but a lot of it looks very similar, and it's hard to say, oh, what conference was this at? What was the? I mean, it all kind of jumbles.
It's a bunch of people with lanyards on.
A bunch of people with lanyards on.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think the difference comes, you know, we've said it, we're saying it over and over again, is when people open their mouths and they're able to talk about specifically the experience at this particular conference and all the kind of features that this conference kind of has.
Yeah, absolutely. And a slight pivot, just to move off the conference thing, because
we're talking about that for the next 2 hours.
I mean, we could.
I'm just joking. Let's move on.
We've basically been talking about it for months now. We have spent this summer we've spent a lot of time together this summer. The three of us.
We have.
Really just kind of plotting and planning and thinking, okay, what does this look like, and how can we make sure that we provide the most value possible?
Right.
But you know, we're also not departing from our roots. You know, the Kickstart Connections was really built around Halifax, small business owners in Halifax, and giving them a platform to talk about their businesses, market their ideas, and really kind of introduce themselves to to the community. That is continuing, but we are also enhancing that side of things.
Yeah.
Right. So up until now, Kickstart Connections has been an audio-only podcast, obviously streaming on all of the major platforms. But moving forward, we are going to have options for our guests, you know.
We sure are.
So moving forward, for any guests that come into the studio to record and do a full episode, we are going to have options for you of video. So, you know, let's make the most of that time and that conversation because, again, so many guests have come in that once we actually dive in and we learn about them and learn about their story, you know, I leave, and I'm sure you guys the same when you're in here producing, you leave and you're like, wow, that was so interesting. Like I had no idea that industry worked that way, or I had no idea so much went into creating this business.
Right.
And so we want to make sure, again, that lives on, right? And not just purely in audio form.
And what I love about it, too, is it's small businesses and large, too.
Yes.
So we're not just, you know, a lot of the time you think we would go for the big fish because those are the ones with the marketing budget and the stories that people want to hear and things like that. But the small businesses have almost been more exciting, and that's what I love about it so much. And since we're providing a service, it's not all about profit, right? It's just about hearing stories and hearing and the small businesses have honestly been some of the best stories, which I love.
Absolutely, and you know, and I think as well, I speak for all three of us. I mean, obviously, we're all small business owners, and it's something that we are very passionate about. And again, when I was early in business when I started the podcast, which was last November, which is it's almost a year now, which is just crazy that this has been running.
Time flies.
I know, we'll have to do something for the anniversary. Anyway.
We will.
But, you know, when I started Kickstart Connections, it was really built out of a need for myself to want to connect with other small business owners. You know, as a solopreneur, it's hard when you don't have a partner or somebody that you can talk to about things, get guidance on, get advice on. So, you know, that was one of the intentions going forward, and obviously just to provide that for other business owners as well. So, you know, we're not going away from our roots here is what I'm saying. It's still something that's, you know, we very much have a passion for. We are just really looking to enhance because we've realized that we can provide value elsewhere as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you talk about, you know, the small businesses, we of course don't want to forget about them. We are small businesses.
Yeah.
So
They're the backbone of our economy, let's be fair. Yeah.
So, and that's why we kind of offer that like scaling packages for the podcast. You want video for it to live on YouTube?
Yeah.
Do you want that video to go for your LinkedIn? We can break that down into real short form video for, you know, if your company has TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. And I think that's so huge because you come on and you tell your story, and that's great. You can direct people to Kickstart Connections on whatever your favorite podcast platform is.
Yeah.
But if we say that like video is king or queen now. So if you have like a small portion of the podcast, you know, 30-second little clip that is so vital to marketing of your company, or it's that storytelling aspect like we did at Wonder Woman Conference, for you to be able to have that in video, in portrait mode, so, you know, cell phone mode, to put on your personal social media account. I mean, that's fantastic marketing that you don't really need to think about too much. And, you know, a lot of businesses, they put aside these content days, then they got to think about what they're going to say and all that. But like, just come on Kickstart Connections, tell your story.
And it's the natural, you know, I always say this to my guests when they come in. We always kind of have our pre-conversation and, you know, we roughly scope out the conversation, but we really want to capture that natural conversation.
Yeah.
That is the key. That's what people relate to. And to your point, you know, as a business owner, yes, you might set aside some time and some budget, potentially work with a marketing company to produce a 30-second, 60-second reel that you can use for marketing. But I would argue that, you know, sometimes if things are overproduced, it loses that
uniqueness.
Yes, the uniqueness
and relatability.
and the relatability. That's the kind of word I'm looking for. Yes, it loses it. So
And I think one thing that we've noticed is there's a lack of affordability for, say, marketing services for some of these small businesses, right?
Absolutely.
Like you need those big budgets to really get your word out or get your company out there. So this is great, and this is another reason why it really just benefits everybody, right?
right. And I mean, I'll speak from experience. And when I launched my business and I was really kind of thinking, how do I market it to reach the audience that I want to reach?
Yeah.
And it's, yes, you can create content by yourself, but then you're restricted to your own platforms there. And I think it's worth mentioning that, when we have guests come into the studio or we conduct interviews at conferences, that then gives access to all of our platforms as well. So the Kickstart Connections platform through the podcasting, social media, LinkedIn. So it really just widens that exposure. And we also provide, again, I'm thinking of all the conversations we've had with business owners when they've come into the studio. We talk to them about how they can use that content. We give them advice on how to best market that content for their business. So it really is a kind of all-in service that we're providing, but we want to make sure, again, we want to keep that affordability there for small business. So, moving forward, we're still going to have the audio, obviously, as we have been doing,
Right.
But we will be adding in, as an option, video, edited reels, etc., even in our in-studio episodes as well.
And I've noticed too, you never know which ones are going to catch, or, when you're trying to market, you never, some people come in, they have a very small business, medium size, whatever, what is it, like under 5 million now for a small?
I think that's small
So
business. Yeah.
It's a vague word, but you just don't know, because whatever industry or whatever the topic is, it can really resonate with some people. And I'm surprised still, like, on a weekly basis. And it's great. I love being surprised. You come in, they're talking about this. Oh, that doesn't seem that interesting. But then when they get into the conversation, and it goes for the same with the pop-ups too, right?
Yeah.
You get that, and I love it.
It all ties in.
And you meet some really cool people.
Exactly.
And, one thing I love as well, and that's probably been one of the most enjoyable things for me on this particular ride with Kickstart Connections, is the entrepreneurs that I have met, but also that I've connected.
Exactly.
Right. Again, it feels like we are creating our little Kickstart Connections community.
It's in the name.
It is. Yeah. And again, that's really the drive behind it, right? We want to be able to facilitate those
especially
connections.
Today's day and age. Like, everything is so corporate. You can't do anything. All your dollars have to go into the right spot. So to actually help out, I guess, like the little person a little bit, you kind of get that with some people.
Yeah.
It's an awesome feeling. And again, everyone benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the idea, we've got a lot of them, but is to kind of have that database of entrepreneurs across the country, across the world. I'm saying it because we're believing it.
Yeah.
That we'll be able to connect with one another.
Absolutely.
It could be connecting a young entrepreneur to an older business person for mentorship. It could be connecting two businesses that can work together. There's, it's really endless, the type of connections that we can create.
The opportunities there are huge, and that's why this is such an exciting project to be working on, and a rewarding one. Yes, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so lots to come. Keep an eye on that website, kickstartconnections.com. Lots of information on there about the different services that we offer, how you can get involved. Whether you're an event organizer, whether you're a small business owner and you want to jump on this train and join us on this journey, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be more than happy to meet with you and discuss in more detail what we can do and how we can help you. And and
follow us with our journey. We've got Instagram. We'll put all these links in the episode description. At Kickstart Connections Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
And our YouTube page, just search up Kickstart Connections. Once again, all these links are in the description. So this is just for the audio more than anything.
Yeah.
And we have a LinkedIn as well. Just look us up, Kickstart Connections, and check us out. Connect with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you're interested, hit us up quick because we're busy and we're moving and we want everyone on this with us.
Create that urgency, Jamie.
Yeah.
Good one.
We actually
Good
just
one.
had a meeting before this that, we won't dive into, but some potential exciting news. So yeah, we're moving and grooving and,
Yeah.
get on the train because it's going.
We definitely have some more exciting announcements to come once we are able to share them. But for now, we want to thank everyone listening for joining us on this journey so far. It's been a ride. It's going to continue to be a ride, and we hope to bring you all along with us. But
Absolutely.
as always, thank you so much for listening.